Welcome to Tea and Stories. Yes, we're back to Tea and Stories again. I hope that you enjoyed my other ones too, like Milk and Cookies and Sweet Dreams. All of them are different story times, but I think I like Tea and Stories best. For Tea and Stories are mostly an adult thing. Get your beverage. I'm doing Today I'm doing lime tea with a little bit of cinnamon candy in it. It's delicious. I really like it. And I'm going to tell you, actually, a friend of mine, I just finished hanging up talking to her. We were talking about my son, Atem. And we were talking about the stories that we tell about families. Family stories I like. I've always liked family stories. I think family stories are important. We need to tell our stories. We need to remember people who aren't here anymore. A lot of people say, why wouldn't you talk about that? Oh, it's going to make you sad. It's going to make everybody sad. No. I mean, I think that I don't know. We need to remember that a person was here. You can't forget someone was here just because they passed away. I mean, we're all going to pass away one day. It's the way of life, and we have to keep all that open and understand that. I love my son. And what is history but the stories of people who aren't here anymore? Yeah. So history to me is important. We all need to talk about our history and share it. Oh, my shirt, it says, I tried being normal once. It was the worst 2 minutes of my whole life. It's true. Because now, I don't consider myself a normal person. I don't believe in normal. I don't think there's any such thing. I think we're all extraordinary in our own ways. But story is story. The story I want to tell you is about a lady who was a really good friend of mine. I really miss Miss Shirley. Shirley E. Riley was a poet. She was also a storyteller, and she was a photographer. She was an awesome photographer. She really documented the first 15 years of Keepers of the Culture, the storytelling group that I'm in. And she was one of those people who understood the nuances of what makes a beautiful photograph. Because a photograph is a story. It's a picture story. And picture stories are important. We do. We need to keep those in mind. Now, Miss Shirley, the first time you see Miss Shirley, the first thing that you would think of, hello, daughter. I'm doing tea and stories.
Huh?
I'm doing tea and stories.
Don't worry, I'm about to be on my way.
Okay, I'll see you in a little bit.
Alright, bye.
Okay. I love it when my baby calls. That's my youngest. But Miss Shirley was like kind of tomboyish. She played softball. She was really, really deep into sports. She loved Jackie Robinson. That's why she really hated the Phillies, because she said that they were terrible to Jackie Robinson. Oh my goodness, she was just a history lesson, a walking history lesson. But what a lot of people didn't know about Miss Shirley is that Miss Shirley was actually a pretty romantic person. There was a young man that was a friend of her family's, that she loved him all her life. And they were very close, even to the end of her life. And he was her great love. And one day we were sitting down having tea together and talking. And she said, "Are you good to that man of yours?" And I said, "Of course I'm good to George, Miss Shirley." And she said, "Are you really good to him? You should be his dream, his desire. You should be his everything." She said, "I was never good at that." Now, I could carry on any conversation. Definitely conversationalist. And we could be intellectual all we wanted. We could even argue. But I was never good at that intimate stuff. That stuff that makes men want to hang around. I wish I had been better. She picked up her cup and she took a sip. Maybe because I always felt that being soft like that made me vulnerable. I didn't want to be weak. I hated that men had to think of women as weak, but that's the only way they seemed to love them. That tender side made you vulnerable to all kinds of nonsense. No, I'm not into nonsense. She would always look so indignant when she would say that. And then I asked her, I said, "But don't you like that softness?" She says, "Sometimes. Every woman wants to be treated kindly and lovingly. Some just don't know how. And after a while of you having to take care of yourself and having to deal with other people's nonsense, you forget how." She took a sip again. "Let's just change the subject," she said. Now, Miss Shirley and I, we would revisit that time and time again. She showed me a picnic basket that she had. And in there was 2 cups, 2 plates. Oh, it was the sweetest hamper. And it even had a little tablecloth that she would put on the ground. And she said she would pack it with all kinds of food for him. And when he would come to visit her, they would spread it out in the middle of the floor. And they would sit there and have a little picnic together. And in those moments, it was the first time I realized just how alone she felt sometimes. Miss Shirley always seemed like she was always so self-assured. But in those moments, I realized that there were times when she wasn't. Times when she longed for that gentleness, that love, that care. And I longed for her to have it too. She kind of adopted me as her child, and my sister friend, storytelling Irma, and I, we came and we took care of her, especially in her latter days. In fact, it was actually Irma who found her when she passed, and it was us who helped to arrange her funeral. Now, I don't mind telling you that the people at her church weren't real happy about the way we arranged her funeral. They were dignified folk, and they wanted this dignified funeral. But Miss Shirley had given me instructions at least 3 or 4 months before she passed. She said, "When I die, I want everyone to wear red." And she said, "And I want to be drummed in like an African queen. And I want stories told. And I want people to be truthful. I ain't ashamed of nothing." And you know, that's exactly what we did. We made sure of the flowers. We made sure that everyone wore red in honor of her. We celebrated her life, not her death. And Miss Shirley never went with the grain. She always went against it. And so we did too. And when we drummed her in, our brothers drummed her in and gave her spirit back to God. I know she was up there with the king smiling. I'm not sure if I believe in some of the things that other people believe in, but I do believe that there's a part of us that lingers a little while after we go, if for no other reason to help us, to help others who they leave behind, to let go. And I know that Miss Shirley, she's lingered. The salve that she put on her parting was a salve of love. Even though she was a little rough, it was so soft and soothing. We remember her all the time. It is our belief as storytellers that when you say a person's name and you speak about them, that you keep that part of them that belonged to earth alive. That other people's memories of you are your proof of life. So, Miss Shirley, I drink to you today, for I live as your proof of life. And thank you for listening as I remember Miss Shirley. Oh, you like this? It's pretty. Mm-hmm. Please remember our sponsor, Paparazzi. Paparazzi Accessories. Mama Carla's Paparazzi Accessories. We hope to have a live sale either the end of this week or the beginning of next week. I will make sure that I post it when we get closer. I thank everyone who watches this replay or who hears these stories for joining in. I thank everyone and have a wonderful day. And make sure that you always get your afternoon tea and stories. Goodbye, everyone.